And so that's why integration is so very essential. And in this little series, I'm going to be going into how to integrate those peak experiences more into your life so there can be a larger impact, so it can actually be digested and brought into your life, and it can actually start to create real transformation for you. Hello, my name is Caleb Jarosh. I help people transform their health and expand their consciousness. Today I'm going to be talking to you about why spirituality is so essential, really, and important in our lives, in our experience. And so most people, I think, have had some kind of spiritual experience where you've experienced something that has been out of the normal range of your day-to-day experience. Sometimes these are called peak experiences, and they can be brought on in so many different kinds of ways. They can be brought on by meditation, or they can sometimes occur to us when we're in the presence of a very free being or teacher. They can happen to us if we're doing a breath work session, breathing, a kind of a breathing meditation. I remember that actually happened to me. I had an experience with my dear friend Nancy Petraea. I went and did a breathwork session with her, which was absolutely phenomenal and transformational, and felt like alive and invigorated. Felt really good after the session, and still, pretty normal, going about my day. But the next day, when I woke up, everything was different. And I had this incredibly deep sense in my body, and this feeling of being connected to the most peaceful and delightful field that I've ever experienced, ever. Like beyond anything that's ever happened in meditations that I've done. So it was quite remarkable. So, and that was from a breathwork session. So also you can have these experiences through different kinds of plant medicines or medicine. And what they do is they break through this typical way of being, the habitual day in, day out, 9 to 5, getting up, going to work, having same conversations that are all kind of on the surface of this, what we call the mundane world. And these experiences are actually, they go beyond this relative experience that we normally have in our day-to-day lives. And in this, the way I describe it is that we get to connect to a greater field that's just beyond Caleb, or just beyond whatever your name is, whoever you are. And we get to connect with a field of love. And some call this field spirit, some call it higher self, some call it God or a goddess. But anybody that's had this experience cannot deny that it is a profound felt sense that is unlike anything in our day-to-day life. And it's so very important, because through connecting to this greater field, we can actually become transformed by it. this so important? Well, it moves us out of this place of being separate from the world, being separate from others, into this place of more love, more peace, and a place of more pleasure and ease in the body. And who doesn't want that? It's really this natural progression of coming out of this state of suffering. And all spiritual paths, whether it's Christianity or Buddhism, whether it's Hinduism or Islam, really the focus and the point of it is coming into communion with something that is greater than just this. And in this union, we're able to become something greater than what we can just on our own. So why is this important? Well, one, I'm sure if you've noticed, but when we're not connected, when you're not connected to that greater field, there's more suffering. And there's more suffering in this individual here, and then also there's more suffering that moves out and expresses itself in the world. I would say that spirituality is so essential for this life, because if you really pay attention, there's an incredible amount of discomfort in the day-to-day experience. And what I've noticed is so much of the day-to-day activities of the world is trying to get away from that discomfort and that suffering. And that suffering and that discomfort primarily happens because there's a disconnect between that greater field of love and this moment, this experience, and this perception right here and now. So the ideal is to bring these two together into more of a harmony, almost like putting your hands into prayer. We're bringing these two sides of the coin and experience so that there's more of a interaction between the two, so that, say, when you sit and you have your meditation or your yoga practice or your plant medicine journey, or you have these ecstatic experiences and lovemaking, that there is more of an integration of these peak experiences with our everyday life. Because if these peak experiences aren't affecting and changing and transforming what our daily life looks like, then really they're not that helpful. Because ultimately what we're looking for is a transformation that is lasting, a transformation that is impacting our lives and really making an impact in our lives, but in our relationships with our partners, with our family, with our fathers, with our mothers, with our sisters, with our friends, the people that are close to us, and with other people in the world, to bring us into more of this field of love, of peace, of harmony, of pleasure, of enjoyment. And this really is the challenge to humanity right now. And what I can't think of a better attention of my focus, and I can't think of a better way to spend my energy than developing more of a relationship with that greater field that I'm sure all of you have connected with at different times through different ways. And why this is so important is, if you haven't noticed, is that habits essentially rule and run our lives. They determine what our lives look like. And it's not easy to change habits, but one of the most powerful ways to change these habits that exist here in this mind-body form is to actually engage with the habits through connecting with something greater than the actual habit, something that can transform that habit. And so this is so very essential on the spiritual path that I found for myself. If you really want transformation, then there has to be more of an integration between these two different, the mundane and the more spiritual peak experiences of this field, this greater field of love, this greater field of God. There has to be a relationship between those two to really transform. And so that's why integration is so very essential. And in this little series, I'm going to be going into how to integrate those peak experiences more into your life so there can be a larger impact, so it can actually be digested and brought into your life. And it can actually start to create real transformation for you. So thanks so much for joining me, and I really look forward to hanging out with you in the next video.